Hello everyone, it's your favorite 45th President, Big Daddy Donald. Before this video starts, I have a message from the head honcho himself, Mr. T.O.B. You see, he would like you all to know that you're all awesome. He wanted me to put all the president-ranking videos into one video for your viewing pleasure. How could I refuse something that would help our wonderful audience? On a serious note, he hopes you bear with him. He works a full-time job, and for the last 2 months has been working out every day as he's trying to lose weight. Naturally, this takes up time, and he hopes that you all remain patient as new videos are worked on. I don't know why he's even worried when he has the best audience on all of YouTube, but it do be like that sometimes. Thank you all again for understanding, and we hope you continue to enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that like button and maybe subscribe if you feel like it. If not, that's okay. Not everyone can be as cool as Daddy Donald. Anyways, grab some popcorn and enjoy the video, you wonderful bastards. Isn't a video like this going to be a tad bit meta?
Oh, please, you're just scared to get put into F-tier, Donald?
F-tier me? Are you kidding? I am the greatest president ever to grace the Oval Office. It's true, very true. They said, Donald, you should serve 12 consecutive terms, and I turned it down because I'm just based like that.
You're definitely smoking on that galactic gang pack. If you think you're the best president ever, Donald, you're a one-termer, and that's peak mid.
With all the drones you've used, Barry, I'm sure you'll fit very snugly in D-tier.
Shut it, fellas. What criteria are we using to rank the presidents? Are we ranking them on what they did while in office or how drip they are? I already know I'm going into S-tier. No one rocks a hat quite like George W.
We are just ranking them on the knowledge we have on hand. No cheating and looking stuff up. This is not political in any way. Some of these guys we know nothing about, and we will be forced to rely on their drip and swag. We all have biases, everyone in the world does, but rest assured, none of these rankings will be based solely on politics, just trying to have some fun. Are we all cool with that?
Sounds cooler than an ecto-cooler, Barack. I'm kicking things off. Probably the easiest placement on this entire list. George Washington, the founding G, our first president, and our last good one. He really set the precedent for what it means to be president, and he voluntarily left his post after 2 terms, setting a wonderful precedent for years to come. I mean, think about it, fellas. There were no rules to not let anyone serve more than 2 terms. Big G was just such a pimp that no one dared to serve more than 2 terms. It took a global conflict for someone to serve more than 8 years. S-tier for Washington.
I remember serving beside General Washington during the Revolution, hounded at every turn. We had to use guerrilla tactics just to stay alive, and we always struck fast and ran. I remember one cold winter night, Washington was speaking with Nathaniel Greene. The blizzard was storming so hard and fast, I'll never forget the wise words Washington spoke on that winter night. He looked into the candle and said, "Damn, homie, this shit cold." So inspirational.
Whatever you say, dumbass. Anyway, John Adams was our second president. I give C-tier. He was much better as a founding father.
Yeah, it's weird how hard he fought as a founding father only to turn around and pass the Alien and Sedition Act. From what I understand, it didn't affect a lot of people, but the simple fact of the matter is he passed a highly restrictive law that was basically unconstitutional, but he did make peace with France. And at the time, that was pretty significant. France gets pissed on a lot, but back in the day, they were arguably the strongest nation in Europe. It kind of flip-flopped between France and England, but I'm getting off topic. Next president is Thomas Jefferson. I give him B-tier. Louisiana Purchase and West Point were solid accomplishments. We all know he wrote the Declaration of Independence, but he did that long before he became president, and we are just trying to stick to when these folks were president. So yeah, B-tier.
B-tier is fair, and I'd throw James Madison in there as well. Fun fact, he was the shortest president. That doesn't matter in the slightest, but yeah. Whoa.
Jesus, Joe, what the hell kind of sound did you just make?
I made the same sound your mama made last night, George. Get bent anyway, James Monroe looks like a massive tool. But he did drop the Monroe Doctrine, and that was probably one of the most significant speeches in U.S. history. I literally don't know about anything else he did. Not saying he didn't do anything, I just literally don't know what else he did. Enlighten me in the comments. I give B-tier for Monroe.
How is that all you know about James Monroe? Joe, he signed the Missouri Compromise and kicked the can further down the road on the issue of slavery. Don't get me wrong, it's not like anyone else was trying to do anything about slavery. It's probably the darkest mark in our history, that in the Philippines, but we don't talk about the Philippines. Too gruesome, I'm afraid.
It's simple, Barry. Human beings are stupid. I'm sorry, it's the truth. Even today, we are all just stupid. Too many people have some sort of coping mechanism that makes them think they are better than others. Whether that be based on race, creed, religion, gender, blah, blah, blah. There are dozens of reasons why humans are terrible. I hope one day we evolve past all this petty squabbling. Just like the 6th president is an evolution on the 2nd president, oh boy, everyone look, John Adams evolved into John Quincy Adams, who I will throw into C tier right next to Papa. John Quincy Adams did a lot more for the country when he wasn't president, and some people debate his appointment as president as a sort of corrupt bargain. Couldn't be me.
Yeah, it was a bit shady from the outside looking in, but a lot of accounts also say that Quincy Adams did everything by the book. So I'll let you all make your own decisions on Adams, just like the next guy who made a lot of decisions, Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson is such a hard president to rank because on the one hand, he cleared the national debt and is the only president to ever do that. He gained new territory for the U.S. and was overall badass, surviving assassination attempts, and at one point I'm pretty sure he beat the shit out of some guy who tried to assassinate him, cool guy, but then he also defied the Supreme Court and began kicking all the Indians out of their land, which is a blatant misuse of his authority. There's always good and bad to every president, even if it is only a little good or a little bad. But in this instance, it leaves a mark that is hard to look past. For that reason, I give Andrew Jackson B tier.
That's a fair assessment, George. We should always remember to try our best to look at every president with both praise and doubt. For one without the other will leave you blind or angry.
Wow, that's a cool quote, Joe. Who are you quoting that from?
I'm quoting AITOB, of course.
Dope quote from a Chad. Mad respect. Unlike the next President Van Buren, he just didn't do anything and had to handle the panic of 1837. And I don't think he handled it particularly well. D tier for me. Cool hair, I suppose.
I agree, Donald. And before I rank the next president, I will say that William Henry Harrison only lasted like a month in office, so it's unfortunate, but he didn't really get to do anything. I'm sure he was a great man, but I got to put him in F tier. Unfortunately, it's not his fault, but his drip alone isn't all that goated. And he only lasted a month in office, so unfortunately, I give him F tier.
Harsh but understandable. The president after him was John Tyler. He was the first vice president to assume the role of president after Harrison's death. Setting the precedent and adding a new role to the vice president, John Tyler got us Texas, which was a pretty big deal. I think he also did it just a few days before Polk became president. He only served one term, which is obviously cringe, but he did do everything he set out to do, so I give him a C tier.
Why only C tier? He got us the big old Spanish grandma that is the state of Texas. I mean, you said it yourself that it was a big deal.
Well, you have got to understand that Florida was also accepted into the Union during his presidency, and it was a slave state, which rubs me the wrong way. And let's be honest, Tyler had no drip at all. He was straight dry as hell. And he married someone like 30 plus years younger than him, just a bit cringe.
It was a bit cringe, kind of like the next president, James K. Polk. He did get us a lot of territories, including the Southwest and California, but let's be honest here, the Mexican-American War was definitely a war of aggression. We were manifesting our destiny all over the faces of the Mexicans, and that should be acknowledged as not the nicest thing to do. But I got to put the guy in B tier instead of C tier because he really is chill like that. I mean, look at this man. I really didn't know he was chill like that.
I remember when your wife found herself manifesting my destiny, Joe. It was glorious.
Piss off, Donald. Why don't you go manifest some Weight Watchers, fat ass?
Sorry to butt in on what no doubt would have been a childish roasting session, but my Texas-sized cowboy hat just fell off my head. Reducing my energy levels by 60%, I need a nap. Let's continue ranking the presidents later, fellas. We'll see how this video does. And if the pimps in the comments want us to continue this, we will. Adios, fellas. Eat shit. Smell you later.
Well, I guess I'll go back to reading the Boruto manga. I will admit that it is a lot better than the anime Peace Out, Homies, Obama Out.
This isn't over, Donald. Nothing is over. You just don't turn it on.
Oh, geez, this silly Willie thinks he's Rambo. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This is certainly a new topic for all of us to be discussing. If you guys enjoy this series, leave a like and please subscribe. I'm trying to stick it to Melania. She thinks we won't hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I looked at her and I said one word. I said, wrong. That's all I had to say. Let's prove her wrong, Chads. Subscribe. Peace out. See you in the next video.
This is total bullshit. Why wasn't I invited to this? I'm a president too, you know?
Yeah, we back at it again. The pop doesn't stop and the grind doesn't flop. Not even if you call the cops. What up, pimps? The Bidenator is here with Barack and Donnie to continue ranking presidents for your amusement.
Where's my introduction, Joe? What am I, chopped liver? How come I didn't get a shout out?
You don't strike me as a chopped liver kind of guy, George. You strike me more as a collapsed tower sort of guy.
Piss off, fatty.
Jesus, guys, let's continue. Your squabbling isn't doing it for me, not even a half chub down there anyway. Zachary Taylor was the 12th president. He was also the second president to die in office. He only made it about a year in office. Since we are keeping to what these men did while they were president, I am not counting Taylor's exploits in the Mexican-American War, though it should be noted that this war made him a national hero.
I agree, Barry. No one knows what it was like down there in Mexico. I was slinging it out with the Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. I fought with so many future presidents. I saw James K. Polk. I saw Franklin Pierce, saw Zachary Taylor. It was a dark time, but in the end, we gained California after John Drake Sloat busted out the default Fortnite emote. It was so cringe that many of his own men died that day, but it made Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna surrender. So it was worth the sacrifice.
Jesus Christ in heaven. Joe, I'm scheduling you a doctor's appointment. We're going to go ahead and get that little walnut brain of yours checked out. Anyway, Barry, can you just throw Taylor into D tier? He only had a year in office and didn't really do anything.
Fair enough, I suppose. Who wants to do the next president?
I got this shit, homies. Millard Fillmore became president after Taylor's death and served out the remaining 3 years or so of the term. He signed the Compromise of 1850, which just kicked the can down the road once more on slavery. Though I suppose you could argue that him doing so delayed the Civil War by about a decade, so maybe it was a good thing. Honestly, I don't know. I'm leaning on C tier.
Yeah, I have to agree, George, that Alec Baldwin-looking dude gets C tier. I can't think of anything past the Compromise of 1850.
Yeah, C tier is fair. Moving on to the next president, Franklin Pierce. Our 14th president is up next, fellas. Have you ever heard the tragedy of President Pierce the Sad?
The tragedy of Franklin Pierce? Honestly, I've never heard much about President Pierce. What was the tragedy, Joe?
Not only did Franklin Pierce lose his 2 sons when they were young, but he also had a 3rd son named Benny. The Pierce family, by all accounts, loved Benny, and his mother in particular dotted on him quite fondly, as it were. Franklin Pierce, his wife, and his son Benny were all traveling to Washington, D.C. on account of Franklin being elected president. And unfortunately, on the way to the Capitol, their train car derailed, causing an accident. Pierce and his wife survived with little injury. Unfortunately, their young son, Benny, didn't make it. He was crushed by the train car. Very tragic. I think it was really what pushed Pierce into his drinking, and it definitely affected his presidency, given the rules of our tier list. I just want us to acknowledge the unfortunate tragedy that befell the Pierce family. Regardless, though, he wasn't a great president. But honestly, the accident is probably why I give Franklin Pierce a D tier.
Very sad, kind of sniffling, poor little Benny. Though I got to mention, Joe, it's quite astounding that you spoke for a minute straight without fumbling the bag. Quite impressive.
Upshut, Donald, I speak perfectly fine. Wrong, nothing is with speech. Oh gosh, anyone else smell pennies?
I don't smell pennies, Joe, but I do smell dog shit, because our next president is James Buchanan. The man who goes into D tier. He's sometimes regarded as the worst president we've ever had. That's not my opinion. I don't think he's the worst. But I definitely think he's bottom 3 or 4 presidents for sure. He did nothing when the South started to secede. If anything, he just sort of taunted them. He also said that the South had no right to secede. But then he also said the federal government couldn't stop them. That's some baloney on a pony right there, D tier, only because he has some decent drip, that's all.
Agreed, Barack. Gosh, we are so on fire today. It's starting to chub up my little Donnie. And I think I'm about to get even more bricked up because the next president is Abraham Lincoln, probably our greatest president ever. Bite me if you disagree for nonsense reasons. Please learn history. The Civil War was fought over slavery. You can pee, you can shit, you can cry, you can yell. Nothing will ever change the fact that the South seceded from the Union because they wanted to keep slavery alive. There is no debate on this. Please go read all the secession letters. And if you still aren't convinced because you're literally lying to yourself, let's have Mr. George W. Bush read you the cornerstone speech. George, could you please go ahead and quote the Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander Hamilton Stevens?
I hope you enjoy my sweet, succulent voice, Chads, because I'm about to quote a lot of shit from the Vice President of the Confederacy. You can look this up yourself if you'd like, and I quote, "Our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery subordination to the superior race is his natural and normal condition. This, our new government, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. This truth has been slow in the process of its development, like all other truths in the various departments of science. It has been so even amongst us. Many who hear me perhaps can recollect well that this truth was not generally admitted, even within their day. The errors of the past generation still clung to many as late as 20 years ago. Those at the North who still cling to these errors with a zeal above knowledge we justly denominate fanatics. All fanaticism springs from an aberration of the mind, from a defect in reasoning. It is a species of insanity. One of the most striking characteristics of insanity in many instances is forming correct conclusions from fancied or erroneous premises. So with the anti-slavery fanatics. Their conclusions are right if their premises were. They assume that the Negro is equal, and hence conclude that he is entitled to equal privileges and rights with the white man. If their premises were correct, their conclusions would be logical and just, but their premise being wrong, their whole argument fails. I recollect once of having heard a gentleman from one of the northern states, of great power and ability, announce in the House of Representatives with imposing effect that we of the South would be compelled ultimately to yield upon this subject of slavery, that it was as impossible to war successfully against a principle in politics as it was in physics or mechanics, that the principle would ultimately prevail, that we, in maintaining slavery as it exists with us, were warring against a principle founded in nature, the principle of the equality of men. The reply I made to him was that upon his own grounds we should ultimately succeed, and that he and his associates in this crusade against our institutions would ultimately fail. The truth announced that it was as impossible to war successfully against a principle in politics as it was in physics and mechanics, I admitted, but told him that it was he and those acting with him who were warring against a principle. They were attempting to make things equal which the Creator had made unequal. Unquote. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Exactly, George. Thank you for spending time to read that portion of the speech. So yeah, the Confederate government was formed to protect slavery. Lincoln hated slavery, but didn't think he could do anything about it yet, and fought the Civil War under the pretext of preserving the Union until the right time came to give the Emancipation Proclamation, changing the reasoning of the war, and eventually winning it all with the help of some very intelligent people, like Ulysses S. Grant. We all know what happens next, of course, the Reconstruction period, though Lincoln would never see it. He was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. Lincoln died in the early hours of April 15, 1865. A tragedy, honestly, because I truly believe if Lincoln had stayed alive his second term, I argue the conditions in the South would have greatly improved. S tier for Abraham Lincoln. He kept the country together and took a bullet for his troubles. Very unfortunate. S tier, greatest president.
Lincoln wasn't perfect, and he has very valid criticisms one could lay on him. But it is our definitive belief he is tied with George Washington for being the best president we've ever had. And he goes into S tier. Now on to Andrew Johnson, F tier. Let's honestly just skip this clown F tier easily.
Easiest F tier, I was there when it all started. President Lincoln had just been shot, and Andrew came up to me, and I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, "Damn, homie, I'm so screwed." It wasn't very inspirational.
Yes, hi, this is Donald-based Naruto Trump. Yes, indeed, the 45th president. Why, yes, I do sometimes call myself Mr. 45. How sweet of you to know that. Yes, well, you see, I'm calling on behalf of the current president, Mr. Joe Biden. Oh, yes, sister, you know it. The man has lost his mind. Yes, indeed, thank you for your help.
What the hell was that all about?
Oh, nothing. Just called the hospital. They're going to come and give Joe some special care. His mind is slipping, George.
Eat shit, Donald. I'm perfectly... Holy shit, how did you guys get in here? Why are there so many of you? What are you doing with that syringe?
Well, shit, I guess we'll have to call it there. I'm going to go play some Dark Souls 3, the superior Souls-like experience. Adios, Chads. Obama out.
What a bitch. I'm going to go play Elden Ring, the true superior Souls-like game. You got this outro, George. Donnie Bo Bonnie is going ghost. Adios.
Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing. It would make the Big W very happy. And we'll be one step closer to 1 billion subscribers. We got a long way to go, Chads. Come be a part of this wonderful shitpost of a channel. We love you all, pimps. Stay safe, stay chatted. And if there are any airplanes and towers in your life, well, you know what, never mind. Adios, Chads.
Hey, George, sorry you're not going to be in this video. It's been a while since we've had certain characters come in, so we are going to give someone else the spot.
What? I'm a President Joe. Surely I should be there to rank the presidents.
Don't be a baby about it, George. You already know Clinton hasn't even gotten a chance in these videos yet, and he's not been invited yet for one of these.
So that's it then, you're replacing me for Bill Clinton.
Ironically enough, no, actually, the person we are inviting for this part is not a former president. And he was in a lot of our earlier videos on the channel, but we haven't seen him in quite some time.
Fucking hell, really? You're trading some random for the Big W?
I guess you'll just have to go and play Master Duel or something, George. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe try less crying and try making more dismissive policies that restrict the rights of the common man to the point that when people take the time to actually read your policies, they get frightened.
Are you referring to the Patriot Act or something, Joe? I was scared, all right. I just became president and then a national tragedy occurred.
Hey, you said it, not me. Enjoy the video, everyone.
Dickhead.
No one likes a sore loser, George. You got the means to continue dropping bombs on these hoes, go full meta in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and I promise you'll feel much better. Well, if we are being honest, there's a chance for you to go full angry mode, but I can't just sit here and tell you what to do, George. You're not in this video, so just accept it. I gotta go, homie. The video needs the main act. The Bidenator is rolling out ready to make some memes. Peace out, Georgie.
You will regret this, you sleepy fuck.
You know, it's been a little while since we had Alpha Joe in our videos. Is he doing all right, fellas?
Now that you mention it, yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it?
Well, don't be shy. Go ahead and shoot him an invite. We got more presidents to rank.
I messaged him on this hip new app called Snapchat. You should really try it, fellas. It lets me send wacky photos along with my messages.
What the hell do you mean hip and new? Snapchat has been out for over 12 years.
Oh, my bad, Donald. I forgot that I was literally supposed to know everything about everything at any given time. I should have just had Snapchat's release date fucking tattooed on my frail old body. Gosh, so sorry, Donald, you fat fuck.
Apology accepted, sleepyhead.
Whoa, Joe, wait a sec. Hold up, wait a minute. Fill my cup. Put some liquor in it. Take a sip, sign the check. Alpha Joe is now on set.
Goddamn, boys, how the hell are y'all doing? It's been a while since I got to kick it with the Three Stooges.
You know, we stay on that grind, Alpha Joe. We are literally ranking presidents. Would you like to do the next one? You can kick us off.
Don't mind if I do, Mr. President. The next one on the list is Ulysses S. Grant. I think he's a firm A-tier president. I know some people aren't fond of the corruption during his presidency, and I'm not fond of it either, but President Grant was simply naive. He was too nice of a guy while he was in office, and people took advantage of that. Not to mention his greatest accomplishment in my eyes was his creation of the Justice Department. Fun fact. President Grant basically eliminated the KKK while he was in office. He just straight up destroyed them. It was so bad that they wouldn't be a problem again until the 1900s.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Rogan. He had his demons, particularly with alcohol, but when it came to his duties, it was by all accounts that he was always sober when it mattered. Take that however you want. But you know, we all like a stiff one every now and then.
Speaking of stiff, the next one we got is Rutherford B. Hayes. He oversaw the end of Reconstruction and at least attempted to heal divisions between the North and South afterward. But a lot of folks believe the way he ended Reconstruction was pretty bad, and his inconsistencies when it came to civil rights was apparent. Overall, I'd say he's C-tier.
C-tier for Hayes is fair. You can honestly argue for B or D tier as well, given his inconsistencies. And of course, I'm not trying to pin this on Hayes. It's not his fault. But he was elected under one of the most controversial elections of all time. I think C-tier is fair. His presidency has a healthy mix of good and bad.
I agree with both you and Donnie. Here comes the 20th president, James Garfield. Unfortunately, James Garfield was assassinated roughly 200 days into his presidency, so he didn't get the chance to do everything he wanted. However, he did appoint a Supreme Court justice, purged corruption within the post office, and did a whole bunch of other things too.
James A. Garfield, the 20th President of the United States, was shot at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C. at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 2nd, 1881. He died in Elberon, New Jersey, 79 days later on September 19, 1881. The shooting occurred less than 4 months into his term as president. Garfield's assassin was Charles J. Guiteau, whose motive was revenge against Garfield for an imagined political debt and getting Chester A. Arthur elevated to president. Guiteau was convicted of Garfield's murder and executed by hanging 1 year after the shooting. Pretty depressing, honestly, cause from all accounts, it seemed like Garfield was a pretty straightforward guy. And he seemed fair. I think he would have ended up an A-tier president had he served his whole term. That being said, he still accomplished things before he was killed. So I think C-tier is fair.
Gosh, imagine being shot by someone named Charles J. Guiteau. How unfortunate is that, John Wilkes Booth? Now that's the name of an assassin.
I can tell you the name of what's going to end up killing you, Sleepy Joe.
Oh yeah, fat ass. What's going to get me?
Fuck you.
I'm going to steer us back on course, fellas. You gotta work. Work. Work this out, boys. You know what High School Musical taught you anyway. We have Chester A. Arthur. He became president after Garfield died, and I'm throwing him in C-tier because everything he did was pretty minimal as far as I can tell. He lowered tariffs, which is good, I suppose, depending on who you ask. He also vetoed a bill that would have used federal funds in a way he found to be excessive. All that is great, and all but fellas there's just no goddamn pizzazz at all. I mean, he's just kind of boring, to be honest. If anyone knows any great deeds by President Arthur, comment down below. We are doing this video without researching stuff, and Arthur is someone we don't know a lot about, so yeah, C-tier. Cool facial hair, though. He's got a bit of riz on the down low.
Yeah, that man's got a strong beard. Good for him. Hey, Donnie, why don't you just do that instead of rocking that stupid hairpiece? Just go bald, grow a beard. And if you throw in an eye patch, you can be Captain Orangebeard.
I'll just stick with being Big Dick Donnie, okay, Joe? Speaking of massive dicks, here comes Grover Cleveland. I'm sure a lot of people already know this. But if you didn't, Grover Cleveland is the only president to ever serve non-consecutive terms, making him both the 22nd and 24th president. Of course, next election, I will be the second president to ever serve non-consecutive terms.
Donnie, straight up, George Bush has a better chance of winning a third term than you do at winning a second.
I'd be careful of what you say, Barack. Last time you said something like that, it made you look pretty silly. Oh yes, Barack, I haven't forgotten that dinner. What was it that you said? Oh yeah, you said Donald Trump will never become president. Don't you feel like a silly Billy right now?
Oh, not at all, Donald. I feel like a man that served 2 consecutive terms in office.
Piss off, Barry. I'm going back to Grover Cleveland. I give him B tier. I think his signing of the Dawes Act was pretty bad. But other than that, I think he did what he could while in office. Solid. I mean, you don't win the popular vote in 3 separate elections for no reason after all.
I would put him in C-tier, but B-tier is fair. I gotta head out now, fellas. I think I'm finally ready to go on an adventure for the Dragon Blunts. It's been a while since I got to summon Kushron. Peace out, pimps.
I think I'm going to head out as well. Melania is making me go watch this movie. I was really looking forward to playing some Slay the Spire, but whatever, we can't be pimps all the time. See you, fellas. Fuck you, sleepyhead.
Obama makes a noise to indicate he is leaving. Obama out.
Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. I just wanted to apologize for the frequency in which videos are being made. Unfortunately, life is indeed life, and we all have responsibilities. I do hope you continue to know that every president and wacky character you've met so far is truly thankful for all you fine folks. Thank you again. Oh, and don't worry, I don't know when, but we will definitely be continuing the Ninja Storm 4 tournament, and we will be playing some Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. So look forward to that. Peace out, pimps. Oh shit, where do I click again to exit Discord? No, not that one. Ah, geez, this is malarkey.
I should have been involved.
Oh God, do we really have to let those other guys into this?
Listen, Joe, I don't like it either, but it only makes sense. If we are ranking presidents, it should only be fair that we bring on George Bush and Bill Clinton. I mean, they are former presidents.
I don't care, Barry. Bill creeps me out, and Bush, well, I guess George is okay. Sometimes he gets a little rowdy, but Bill is always talking about banging some former White House intern or something. It makes me uncomfortable.
That's just karma, sleepyhead. You make all of America uncomfortable, so it's only fair for you to feel a bit of what the average American feels.
I make everyone uncomfortable. Remember when you labeled an entire group of people rapists and murderers, you fat pig? Because I remember.
Oh, you love bringing that up, you decrepit grapefruit. I hit a dragon blunt that day. You know that sleepyhead?
It seems like you were hitting blunts your entire presidency, bitch. Always spewing some nonsensical garbage. Nothing ever changes, does it, Donnie?
Oh, shut up, Joe. At least I was actually awake during my presidency. You couldn't stay awake past 7 p.m. if I offered you $50 million, which, if I may add, is nothing compared to the vast amounts of wealth I own. Gosh, I'm so fucking rich. I love it. Someone get me a Big Mac. I'm a fiend for some meat and cheese on a sesame seed bun.
Great, not only are you both making me uncomfortable, we no doubt got demonetized because of that. So nice going, idiots. Now both of you take off your panties, put your big boy pants on, and get ready to continue the presidential tier list. I can't stop you from hooping and hollering. Lord knows I've tried, so when we get in the call, you can go wild for all I care. Has Big Barry Obama made himself crystal clear? God help you if I have to repeat myself.
Yeah, Barry, I'll play nice. Let's just go rank presidents.
You're lucky I'm in a good mood, Barry. I found $1 in my couch cushion, and I can't stress to you enough how hyped I am. As you all know, I'm filthy rich, and money is the only thing that gets me to keep going. So let's continue ranking the presidents.
All right, you two, after literally crying about it for several weeks, I guess it's okay for you two to help us rank the presidents.
All right, boys, let's get this tier list popping. We got some legendary figures coming up today. Thank you for seeing reason and allowing Mr. Clinton and I to participate in today's video.
Yeah, fellas, what gives? Why are we not in every video? We are all presidents here. I mean, I know Donnie only served 1 term, but that doesn't make him any less of a president.
Oh, ha, 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 Bill, why don't you come up with something a little more original?
You're orange like a carrot, haha, get roasted.
Oh, come on, Bill. He said something original. I call him Orange all the time. It's only funny when I say it, just like Donnie always calls me Sleepy Joe. It's not at all original, but it's still funny only when Donald says it. This is why you weren't invited.
Guys, can we just go ahead and get started? I have an unhealthy amount of Namex-strained Kush from Kushran just sitting in front of me, and I'd like to have some this year, please.
Wait, Barry, I got one. I got an original roast.
Oh, this should be rich. Not as rich as me, but you know what I mean. Go ahead, Bill. You get one chance to roast me.
Well, guess what, Donald? I was with Melania last night, and unlike with Monica, I can say wholeheartedly that I did indeed have sexual relations with that woman.
Wow, that was so bad. I'm going to let Keanu Reeves ask you why you even come here.
Why do you come here?
I'm going to go ahead and get us started before Donnie drops another outdated meme. Benjamin Harrison is the next president on the list. I only know 2 things about Harrison, so apologies. But I know we almost got into a war with Chile during his presidency. And he picked David J. Brewer to become a Supreme Court justice. I'm sure he did more, but that's literally all I know about the guy.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Harrison at all. What are we thinking, fellas? C tier? Maybe?
I'm thinking you shut the fuck up, George.
Where the fuck is this coming from, fatty? What, you mad that I owned you in Master Duel last night, pussy?
I'm going to throw Harrison into C tier. You guys really need some anger management, particularly you, Donnie.
Anger management? Me? Please, I've never been angry in my entire life. I am calm, so calm. In fact, I may indeed be the calmest person to ever exist. Moving on, William McKinley gets B tier. I'm pretty confident that the United States blew up their own ship in order to justify going to war with Spain and liberating Cuba. But what we can't deny is that McKinley's policies definitely set the stage for America to become the superpower that it is today. That's all I have to say on that, Bill. You do the next one.
Oh, shit, pimps. The next president is the man, the myth, the park ranger, Theodore Roosevelt. This man gets A tier simply because of how badass he is. I mean, right off the bat, he drops this banger, quote, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Badass. He also had dinner with Booker T. Washington, which is just a cool story. What else did he do? The Panama Canal began under his presidency. I believe Congress just voted to do it. He had a massive dick for creating national parks, which is nice. He passed the Meat Inspection Act and the Pure Food and Drug Act, which was desperately needed. He wasn't perfect. But I think Teddy deserves an A tier.
Solid reasoning, Bill. I agree. This has nothing to do with his presidency. But I do think it's a dark mark about Roosevelt that needs to be said. Roosevelt tried to run for a 3rd term against the man he picked to replace him, which was William Howard Taft, who I'm just going to go ahead and throw into C tier anyways. Roosevelt ran against Taft and split the Republican vote, which allowed for Woodrow Wilson to become president. And oh boy, do I fucking hate Woodrow Wilson. He was a terrible president. He was notoriously racist, and he even screened a KKK movie inside the White House. He was just a total fuckhead, and if Roosevelt wasn't being a bitch, Wilson probably never would have been president. Even for the time period, Wilson was just really a dick. And if you're wondering why we have federal income tax, blame Wilson, F tier. I'm sure he's maybe done something good at some point in his life, but whenever I think of Wilson, I just fucking seethe. Terrible guy.
I vote to make July 28th to be National Screw Woodrow Wilson Day. All in agreement say, fuck you, Woodrow Wilson.
Fuck you, Woodrow Wilson.
Democracy strikes again. Moving on to Warren G. Harding. I know literally nothing about him at all. He looks like my ex-girlfriend's dad, so he's going into D tier out of sheer spite.
Oh, come on, Sleepy Joe. You got to think of a better reason than that to put President Harding into D tier.
Tell me just one fact about Warren G. Harding and not something like, oh, he was president of the United States. I mean, give me one solid fact about Warren G. Harding while he was president. Give me one fucking thing that he did, Donald.
You win this round, Sleepyhead. Now, if you will all excuse me, I believe it is time for me to go play Beyblade with Melania. I'm going to give her the cord and let it rip, if you know what I mean. Big Donnie is out of here. Here's Donnie's advice for the day. If you take heavy cream and mix it with a little sugar and a little vanilla, you'll get some whipped cream. Isn't that great? Of course, the alternate method is to go to your mom's room and pick up my whipped cream. Ha 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 ha, bazinga bazinga, waka waka, adios, bitches.
Well, that was a weird way of leaving anyways. I'm going to bounce too, fellas. I have some very important... Well, I got shit to do with a former White House intern. Adios.
Disgusted Obama noises fill the room as Obama takes his leave.
Well, I guess it's just me and you now, Mr. Biden.
Actually, it's just you, George.
God, I need to get some new friends. These guys suck. Well, I guess this episode is over. Thanks for watching, as always. The big George W. is going to go make some Tex-Mex food. Yummy, yummy, get in my tummy. Make sure you guys drink plenty of water. Go get some. It's good for you. You got to get that water up, pimps. Last thing I want to see is a fellow Chad dehydrated. Peace out, pimps.
Dick.
We got to give the people what they want, Donnie. Are you ready for this?
I was born ready, Joe. Let's knock out all the remaining presidents in one video. Make this a grand finale of sorts. All 17 remaining presidents will be ranked. We'll just go through them all in one go. Kind of like the way I knock out a box of Krispy Kreme donuts all in one go. Let's do this shit, Joey.
Should we invite everyone else like last time?
That would make sense. We can end it in a big way, you know? It'll be doper than heroin. Not that heroin is dope, it's just that dope is street slang for... just forget about it. Never mind. You all weren't raised in the cold New York streets like Big Donnie, so you wouldn't understand.
Just try me, Donald. I always keep that Glock Extendo piss mag with the silencer on me at all times. In other words, I always keep that mother-loving thing on me. Let's pop some hose. All right, fellas, are you ready for this? We are literally going to rank the rest of the presidents on this list. We have 17 presidents left to organize, and I think the folks at home will enjoy it as much as I enjoy watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
What's a game sphere?
Only the most sophisticated gaming experience ever created by humans, and it's spherical. Spherical!
Joe, you freaking moron. That was Drake and Josh, not The Fresh Prince.
What are you talking about?
Joe, did you think you were watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air the entire time?
Well, yeah, I've been watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I even learned Carlton's favorite catchphrase. You know how he always says bazinga?
Oh, Jesus Christ, Joe.
Joe, what the hell are you smoking? Bazinga isn't a catchphrase for Drake and Josh or for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's a different show entirely.
You guys are just yanking my chain. I think I would know about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. After all, my favorite character in that show is Squidward, always getting annoyed by Will and SpongeBob. Shit's hilarious.
I'm going to get us started before I have a brain aneurysm. Next on the list is Calvin Coolidge. I think he goes to the very top of B tier. You could make arguments for A tier, but despite the good he did, such as growing the economy by cutting taxes, he looks like a substitute teacher. And I've had nothing but bad experiences with substitute teachers, so it throws me off. B tier is fair, though. Fun fact, there's a story about Coolidge. one night he was at a dinner party at the White House. You've got to understand that President Coolidge's nickname was Silent Cal. So anyway, a reporter went up to him and said, "Mr. President, I bet I can make you say 3 words by the end of the night." And Mr. Coolidge responded with this quote, "You lose, dear, kind of base, not gonna lie."
That is pretty funny. Good to know we had a substitute teacher with a sense of humor. Anyways, the next president is Herbert Hoover. Unfortunately, he didn't invent the Hoover vacuum, which loses him points. He also had the unenviable task of guiding the country through the Great Depression, a task that he didn't perform very well at all. I give him D tier. I would put him in F tier, but I think his name is really funny to say Hoover, Herbert Hoover. That's funny, LOLD tier.
You sounded like a dying sheep there for a bit, George.
Oh, shut up, Bill. At least I don't have certain types of relations with sheep.
You got me there, George.
What?
I was just saying how FDR is up next, and I put him into A tier. I think he guided the country through World War II admirably, and I was a fan of a lot of his policies. He's the only president to ever serve more than 2 terms. I mean, the guy was on his 4th term when he finally died. However, while many people would put FDR into S tier if given the chance, I do have to demote him to A tier because of the way he treated Japanese Americans. He put them into camps out of fear for what they would do, even though they were all citizens of the United States. It's a dark mark on his resume, and I don't want to understate that, but he did pretty good with everything else, so I think A tier is fair.
Anyone else still hung up on the sheep stuff?
Oh, of course, you of all people would be focusing on the degeneracy, Creepy Joe.
Don't you have some classified documents to show around for clout, you narcissistic fuck?
I'm going to reel in this conversation before it becomes a confrontation. Pitter-patter bitches. I'm going to give you the 2-for-1 Obama special. Harry S. Truman was a bit of a prick, but he was an effective president. He ended World War II by dropping a couple of you-know-what's on Japan and then helped form the United Nations. I give him B tier, still a prick. And I give the next president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, an A tier ranking. The last 2 American states were admitted to the Union during Eisenhower's presidency, and he appointed 5 justices to the Supreme Court, including Earl Warren as Chief Justice in 1953. One of the greatest accomplishments of the Eisenhower administration was the creation of an interstate highway system. Eisenhower also created the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Today it's known as the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Education.
I want to get on this 2-for-1 special. Barack John F. Kennedy goes into B tier. I think it's tragic that President Kennedy was assassinated at such a young age. He was the youngest ever elected president and the first Catholic president before, of course, yours truly. And I think he is romanticized a bit because of that tragic day in Dallas. But his handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis was superb. And he seemed like he genuinely cared about the well-being of others. He was big into civil rights, but he, unfortunately, was killed before he could sign the Civil Rights Act into law. This would be handled by Lyndon B. Johnson, who I put into C tier because he gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Gosh, what a shame. As many conspiracies as there are when it comes to JFK, I fully believe that it was Lee Harvey Oswald that killed the president that day in Dallas. The only question that really needs answering is if he was acting alone. I will admit that's one part that I could never decide 100% for myself. Like I said, Oswald killed Kennedy, no denying that. But did anyone help him? Did anyone put this thought into his head? I honestly have no clue anyway. Who wants to do the quadruple D tier? We all discussed it, so who wants to do it?
I got this. George Nixon did some good things like form the EPA, but the Watergate scandal really fucked up his legacy. I don't even think that's the worst thing he did, honestly. But it's what people remember. And it was underhanded. D tier for Nixon. Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon and showed the American public that the president was above the law. Stupid decision, D tier. Jimmy Carter is a nice guy and a genuinely good human being, but he was a very ineffective president, D tier. And Ronald Reagan, oh God, Ronald fucking Reagan, the crack epidemic, ignoring the AIDS crisis, starting the bullshit war on drugs, which, by the way, the drugs won if you were curious. Banning machine guns, Reaganomics, the list goes on and on. D tier, wow, 4 terrible presidents in a row. How about that?
Hey, look on the bright side, everyone afterward is straight up S tier, from George's father all the way up to Sleepy Joe. We are all pimps and we all deserve S tier.
Hell yeah, Bill, you said it, homie. We are all the greatest studs in America. All of you come to the White House. We are going to party hardy and drink so much Nesquik chalky milk that I might even go crazy and stay up until 8:30 p.m. How crazy is that?
Sounds like a plan, Joe. See all you pimps at the White House? Obama and the gang are out of here. I'm going to leave this list up so that anyone can see it. I'm sure no one will hop into the Discord call and change it. Why would they? After all, it's the perfect list. Peace out, Chads.
Are all those idiots gone, Walter?
Yeah, they're gone, Ben. We can go ahead and fix this list.
Agreed. Those idiots are smoking on the finest kush in all the lands if they think they're all S tier. I mean, really? Do they really think they're on the same level as Washington and Lincoln? Idiots like for real. As much as I love Daddy Donald, he's not an S tier president.
He really isn't. None of those clowns are. Let me break it down for you, Heisenberg style. George H. Walker Bush goes into D tier along with his son, and neither were that great. George W. Bush passed the Patriot Act. Enough said with that alone.
Good picks, George. Obama and Bill can both go to the bottom of C tier. They were just passable, and I mean just barely. Bill is a freak, but the economy was good, and Obama tried his hardest to get people health care, a noble act that really wasn't facilitated that well. So I'll put both of them in C tier. As for Big Daddy Donald and Sleepy Joe, both can go into D tier. Both are old-ass men that shouldn't have ever been president. Both of them are incapable of producing trust in the government, but they aren't as bad as Woodrow Wilson, so they both get D tier.
Nice, Ben. Very based indeed.
Thanks, Walter. Abigail, my sister, thinks I'm extremely based as well, due to my ability to use facts and logic. Gosh, whenever a hardcore fact is said, you already know I got that stiffy on me.
All right, Ben. Take it easy. I have to go now. My partner Jesse and I are about to pull off this train heist with some guy named Todd. He seems okay. I mean, the only thing that could ruin this whole thing is if some kid were to roll up on a dirt bike or something, but the odds of that are astronomical, so I'm sure it'll go well. Go ahead and do the outro, Ben. Heisenberg is taking his leave because I am indeed the one who knocks. Peace out, Chads.
Thank you all for watching the conclusion of the presidential tier list. Remember, we all have biases, and we all have our own opinions. I'm sure our list is not a definitive one, and I'm sure a lot of you will have differing opinions, and that's perfectly okay. Go ahead and post your rankings of the presidents in the comments below. Stay awesome, everyone. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Oh, and for the love of God, if anyone sees a sweet, succulent fact, please let me know. I love facts almost as much as I love Big Donnie. So long for now, everyone. Big Benny is out of here cruising down the street in my 6'4", jocking them bitches, slapping them hoes.